Hello and welcome to the SC2L. Thanks again for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeff In Control Robinson. Tonight we're joined by Mr. Sean Day9 Plot. How you doing, friend?
Ooh, I'm doing so good, and Jeff, I think that this is a good opportunity for us to bond.
Oh yeah? What's that mean?
Yeah, I heard you. I heard you were in traffic.
Yeah. I was a little confused on the start time, so I unfortunately got the text that's like, oh okay, and then I had to jump in the car and get here. And I don't think you get anywhere in San Francisco very fast, so
Yeah.
unfortunately this is literally when I rolled up, and I apologize for being late, everybody.
No, don't. Not everyone's late. Well, because the thing is, it's not like you left at 7 to get here at 7:15. You
Right.
left at like 4:45.
Almost.
So good. Well, Jeff, I'm super excited. I'm in such a great mood because not only is it Wednesday, which is always a good day, but of course, it's the two powerhouse foreigner teams going head to head. Evil Geniuses versus TeamLiquid. Ooh.
Friends and foes in Pro League, of course, they were aligned together, and outside of that, they are competitors. As you said, they're the two powerhouses. But even beyond that, they just have history and tradition with each other in terms of competing. Of course, like you go back to Puma versus Hero in several finals. TLO's comments around this and that. Idra's comments around everything. You know, it goes back a while, and it's pretty fun. And it's awesome to be able to continue that here in SC2L.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look up at the lineups for tonight, really, really promising set of matches. I mean, especially excited to get to see Xenocider pop out because, you know, he's one of the new recruits for Evil Geniuses. But of course, if you look at the Evil Geniuses side, it reminds you a lot of that TL Pro League roster. Or that TL EG Pro League roster. And the same thing for TeamLiquid. All the matchups are pretty much sick. A lot of mirrors in tonight's matchup. So, pretty excited.
Yeah, a lot of mirrors. It's nice seeing Snoot out there, too. Snoot, of course, is, I would say, right now, the most successful foreigner on the TL squad. But, of course, that rotates. You get TLO catching fire, Rhett catching fire, and, of course, there's Snoot. So they all do very well for themselves. But really excited about that. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, though, I do want to give out a special word to our title sponsor, D-Link. If you guys haven't already, do check out the website, sc2l.gg, and, of course, click on that D-Link banner at the top. It's going to take you to the deal that we've been running all season long. We'll continue till the end of SC2L. And that is, of course, that you'll get $10 or $6 off the purchase, $10 towards the overall prize pool for the SC2L if you do purchase a gaming router. But even if you don't purchase one, throw them an email, throw them a tweet, a text if you've got their phone numbers or something like that. I don't necessarily recommend that one. But just let them know that you appreciate their sponsorship, you appreciate their involvement. And this is how companies get involved in esports, ladies and gentlemen. They try out things like this, and they say, you know what? This worked out pretty well. The people were responsive. They seem to be pretty loyal to those that come inside the space. Let's go ahead and stick around and try out some other things. And then all of a sudden, they're sponsoring teams, sponsoring more leagues, so on and so forth. So let them know. But if you are in the market to get yourself a gaming router, either to upgrade or just purchase a new one, do check this out. I've got it plugged in at home. It helps my wireless connectivity, just stumble on the word. And then it also, of course, helps with your direct plug-in. If you're playing a game and, like, let's say an update comes up on your computer or someone sits down and wants to start downloading, this will allow the internet to continue to be funneled towards your game that is currently in play. So it allows you to prioritize the information coming in so that you don't have any interruptions or any disconnects, with router pending, whatever it can do for that. So that's all the good news. Outside of that, ladies and gentlemen, we do also have a broadcast tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
This time I will super check what time that starts, because on the website it says 10 a.m., but I'm sure as hell not going to show up if that's not the case. So Conrad and I will confirm on what time that is by the end of the broadcast, and I'll let you guys know. But just kind of keep your calendars marked that tomorrow we have another excellent match. And Sean, we talked about the lineup. We got this stuff out of the way. Are we ready to get started?
Oh my god, I'm super ready to get started. Game number 1 is Liquid Ret versus EGJ Dawn.
All right, let's get it started now. We're underway. Sean, go ahead and tell us who's playing, buddy. I mean,
down
again.
Down in the bottom left-hand corner from TeamLiquid, spawning as the Red Zerg on Newkirk Precinct TE. It is Liquid Ret, the famous Dutchman, the king of drones, and of course in the bottom right-hand corner, it's the king of Zerg itself, one of the biggest moneymakers of pro gaming of all time. It's J-Dong, man. It's the Dong.
Yeah, and he's getting his favorite matchup, I would say. A lot of people talk about Jaedong, and sometimes in terms of the negative where they say, well, his ZVP is not the sharpest of things. And then they talk about his ZVZ and they say that's one of the sharpest things you could ever look at.
Yes, that is certainly the sharpest of things, floating up, and I think it's already in like the quadruple-digit win rate or something absurd like that. But
yeah.
I mean, honestly, Jaedong hardly loses in this matchup. He is sensational at it. The only notable recent loss he's had in this matchup is versus Hyun and Dream.
Yeah, and that was a tough one. He got to the finals there, and Hyun was is a very good Zerg player, but I feel like a lot of people, myself included, we all were like, okay, he got past Stardust. That was the guy that stopped them last time. Now he has a Zerg. Certainly this is his chance to win a big tournament, but unfortunately for him, Hyun was on fire that tournament, took him down pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, this is a sort of situation, though, where Jaedong really does tend to shine. In these online scenarios, Jaedong is exceptional when it comes to online play and online practice. I mean, even though he still posts phenomenal results, a lot of top X finishes, a lot of top 2 finishes.
Yeah.
Still, he tends to have a little bit of discomfort up on the big stage. We really see him shine on stream and this sort of thing. So both players are going to be going for the hatch first. We see gas first from Rhett. It's a little bit more of a traditional play. Same thing from Jaedong. No reason really not to do this build on this map. You can spot everything your opponent does. I like Jaedong's Overlord placement quite a lot more.
Yeah, I like how that second Overlord, well you'll notice it's not quite as far in the progression of getting to the opponent's side of the map as Rhett's is. It has the pathing to see like an early pool, Lings or something like that, or a scouting drone, things that would tip off Jaedong to an alternate opening. As we can see here, and as you pointed out, they are doing the same opening, so it's kind of for not this game, but that's the higher percentage, and I feel like the better Overlord placement going into the future.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, it is a sort of matchup where you don't scout what he's doing, you scout where and what his Lings are up to. So,
right.
Like the first scout from Jaedong getting in the base, just got to send that first Overlord in to make sure that he's not rushing you, that he's not doing anything too insane. But once you hit this stage in the game, it's totally clear for that Overlord placement. Setting it around, seeing how many Lings are coming out are going to be critical for those early game decisions, because you never really want to over-Baneling in those Ling-Baneling wars.
No, and I mean, as you said, it even goes beyond Ling-Baneling, like into the Roach situation, where it's like, oh, okay, he's going pre-speed Roaches, which are trying to catch me without having any Roaches of my own. I mean, just all that kind of early alert. I'm not going to go through the entire tech tree, but the point is, yeah, I sometimes do that kind of thing, but the point is that kind of map vision's really good. And of course, a lot of people say, well, okay, well, what happens when mutas pop out and all of a sudden those Overlords start dying? That's when the really savvy Zerg players also do things like Ling scouting and keep an eye on the potential Mutalisk switch, because if that is the case, they do, of course, want to evacuate and evade those Overlords to places where they're not easy pickings for those Mutalisks.
Yeah, I mean, that's always, I honestly think it's one of my favorite little debates in the matchup, is how to send those Overlords around past the sort of obvious early game spots, because there's a lot of anti-air once you get to layer tech. So Jaedong throwing some darts at the frontal Overlord of Rhett, pushing it back. Jaedong actually getting kind of a surprising amount of Lings this fast. We're already seeing that it's 12 Lings to nada, and this is really what I think Jaedong shines in. Most people, when they think playing long-term and playing stable, they look to a player like Rhett, who's going to build hardly any Lings and going to just mass up on drones, but Jaedong will make this sort of push an economic one.
Yeah, he's going to go for it. I mean, that's a lot of Lings, as you said. There are 4 Banelings being morphed in, so it's going to come down to Rhett's control. He also has a Spine Crawler here to anchor this, but outside of that, if you look at that production tab, no, actually, it is going to be some Lings coming out. I just saw just now some drones were popping out, so Rhett is caught a little bit off guard, but it's going to come down to the Baneling.
Ooh! First nice Baneling hit connects with everything. These Banelings are moving forward, and gosh, Jaedong is not making my earlier comment look very good. I mean, running straight into a lot of the Banelings, surrounding this first Queen. Second Queen sort of planted nicely around the ramp, but that too is going to get surrounded and picked off.
And when the Queens are by themselves, they are easy pickings. In fact, we're going to have 24 drones coming out for Rhett, and as you can see in the production tab, drones are what's coming out behind this for Jaedong. But that being said, he's got 2 Queens down and is now hitting up on the drones.
And of course, this is what makes this an economic-focused push. I mean, sure, he's getting in there and dealing damage, but this is really a long-term play for Jaedong. He wants to try to get these down, so that way he can get the drone lead, and we see it's 31 to 32 in terms of the worker count. So, again, it was not as much damage as there could have been. But this is what's so impressive to me about Jaedong, though. He makes this sort of thing look really, really just stable. Like,
yeah.
he can do it. It doesn't matter if it seems to fail. The numbers are always going to be in his favor at the end.
It looks like an all-in for somebody else, but for Jaedong, it actually functions as a reset. Like you said, they're both at the same number of harvesters. Rhett has a spine crawler down, and he has fewer lings on the field. Now, of course, the numbers are going to change. So they're going to seesaw back and forth here. Jaedong wants to push back and say, "Hey, Rhett, you got to make more banelings. You got to make more lings or something," and that'll go back and forth for a little while.
At this point in time, the big question is a layer tech. In the early game, it's a lot around the Zergling speed. Who gets that first? Who can do this aggression? Sure, they'll poke back and forth a little bit, but, I mean, at this point, no one's really looking to break in and deal tons of damage. They're saying, if I have leftover Zerglings from that early attack or that early defense, I will use them. But Jaedong is sort of doing this as a bonus. He's moving in, and, if Red isn't careful, he's going to lose some huge stuff. But, of course, you know, those... Ooh, Spinecrawler goes down, but
yeah.
Jaedong loses a lot of these lings. Is going to be bad for him.
Yeah, Jaedong's just trying to make Rhett make mistakes, and that's kind of the advantage of Jaedong. I mean, we talked about a lot of things. We talked about how he's won a lot of money, but one of the other things that Jaedong has in his corner, and always has, even back to Brood War, was he's always been one of the fastest and most mechanically sound players. So Jaedong, outside of that first Baneling bust, as you talked about, where, one Baneling did pop off on a few too many lings, right now, he's just trying to tax Rhett. He wants Rhett to slow down on injects, make mistakes, maybe pop off a Baneling or two, and like as we can see here, the Queen's going to die.
The Queen's getting surrounded, getting picked off. Baneling gonna rush in, deal some damage, but... Whoa! Okay, the Queen's gonna be fine, Jeff. I mean, that Queen is in no danger. I mean, the Zerglings surrounded her, but that's why she has health. And very cool to see this sort of deviation. Most people are saying you can't really go Mutas because Spore Crawler's 3-shot Mutalisks.
Right.
Again, Rhett overbuilt Zerglings for the defense, so he's gonna swing back. It looks like Jaedong's gonna be fine for that, but I'm surprised to see this big of a deviation early on. Mutalisk versus... Roach, when both players had a completely even layer time.
Yeah, that is interesting, and I saw that because Rhett actually made the Roach Warren and the layer almost simultaneously, which sometimes suggests, of course, I just want to scale my upgrades up, get speed for the Roaches quite similarly to my opponent, but when he sees that there is, in fact, going to be a Mutatech coming out for Jaedong, he just goes right into that infestation pit. I mean, on a lot of maps, I like that, but on a map where they're kind of close like this, it might be a problem.
Yeah, this is the map that drops are really scary on. Any map that drops are scary on, the Mutas are going to be scary on.
Yeah.
So, of course, Jaedong's continuing to apply pressure with these Banelings, trying to get into the front, but Rhett will have enough defense for them. The scary question is, will Rhett have enough defense for these Mutalisks? Because all this pressure has really kept the creep spread from getting all the way up to that Expo. And, of course, the creep spread, you need to get the Spore Crawlers up. But Rhett's so smart with that Overlord placement. I mean, we talked about the Overlord placement for Lings, but this is Overlord placement for expanding. I mean... You rarely think about creep spread from overlords at this stage of the game.
And as you said, very smartly so, it allowed these Queens to get right over here. The Spore Crawler is going to build just fine. It does finish here, which means the Mules are going to come out to a very defended world, but it's not all for naught. They're going to get this Overseer as well as probably the Overlord up by the third. And all things considered, Mutalisks don't necessarily have to do direct economic damage to your opponent. They give you a sense of map control for a while. So Jaedong, as you can see on that production tab, he is getting +1 range attack, which actually kind of stops me in my tracks. I was about to say, notice I was just going right into Roaches, but in fact, does that mean he's going to stick around on Mutas for a while, you think?
I mean, this is kind of the traditional play.
Is it?
Normally, in the future, now that we're in HOTS, where things are technologically more kick-ass, we see lots of Mutalisks going down, but I mean, look at the number of Queens Rhett has. There's no way that those Mutalisks are going to be doing much at all, so... Jaedong, interestingly, getting melee attack right away. I don't see that very often, so is he going to maybe transition into Hive right away? I mean, often you'll see a player get like 9 Mutas and then stop and go straight into Roach and Fester, but I mean, we're already seeing Rhett pick off a couple of these things. Rhett's actually looking fantastic.
Yeah, Jaedong's playing strange. He's got 6 more Mutas coming out, and look at this, Sean. He's got 14 Banelings sitting outside the third, which... gives me great pause, because certainly if Hydras were coming out, which is, I guess, what Jaedong was anticipating, straight to Infestors with a strong Queen base is the anti-air of choice for Rhett, and that's got to throw Jaedong for a loop, because these Banelings are a waste at the moment, I feel.
Yeah, they ain't doing much.
Yeah.
Kind of an unusual 15 Baneling move down at the bottom side, so I think that what Jaedong's trying to do is predict what sort of composition Rhett's going to go for. What we see a lot of players do is begin getting the Infestors, but then very rapidly transition to Hydralisk. Normally you wait till 150, 160 supply to transition to Hydras in this matchup. We're seeing Rhett do it at 120. And Banelings are going to rip through that, so it's a very smart sort of read by Jaedong. But again, God, Spore Crawlers deal so much damage. They died so fast, so it actually looks like it's going to be kind of a mass Ling Baneling play in addition to these mutas. Very unusual to see.
Very unusual, and he's sticking to it. Like you said, there's that +1 melee upgrades, getting Baneling speed, more Lings coming out. He is taking a 4th base behind this. I mean, he will have the far and away more mobile army, but this is not mech we're talking about for Red. I mean, the units will move around just fine enough, and these Infestors have been allowed to tank up their juices, so they're going to have probably about 2 Fungals each. Shouldn't see too many things like Infested Terrans, but Fungal against Banelings, Fungal against mutas, super powerful. Banelings don't do very well when they get Fungal.
Yeah, I mean, this is still a little bit of the issue that we're seeing out of Jaedong, is he's set up a lot of potential, but it's pretty high variance. I mean, Red is doing the gold standard, and he's doing it extremely well. He's already at +2. He's already going to be able to get his +1 Carapace started. He already has his range done. He already has his speed done for his roaches. I mean, everything is going perfectly in his way. But Jaedong is preparing some pretty huge Baneling flanks, it looks like. Maybe these Zerglings to the north will be Banelings. I mean, I'm kind of having a hard time making an analysis here. Because...
Wait, I might be ahead of you guys.
Oh,
you're seeing what I'm seeing, right?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
That's devastating.
This is going well for Rhett. Oh.
Wells putting it lightly, Sean. I mean, the Mutalisk got nailed by a 3-pointer Fungal from Rhett. I mean, absolutely massive damage. Held him in place. And then Jaedong was like, well, I guess we go for it. Threw his Lings and his Banelings at it, but none of them did anything. He actually detonated most of the Banelings at the 3rd, killing drones and damaging the hatch, but good luck, you're down 80 supply.
Jeez, this is going to be an easy walk for Rhett. I really cannot wrap my head around what Jaedong was doing there, but I can wrap my head around what Rhett is doing right now. He is going to storm the front. He already has max energy on 3 Infestors, almost max energy on another, and he's just going to be blasting down the front.
Yeah, you can see the Banelings over there are trying to morph, but again, they've been found. I think Jaedong's out of options.
Oh my god, what happened to Jaedong? I mean, look, they're done, but they pick off 2 roaches. I mean, this is a huge investment. There's the GG.
He taps out, and in a very rare situation. I mean, you talked about one of the most memorable times where Jaedong did lose his EVZ, and that's going back a while. I mean, I can't really pick a ZVZ that he's lost from that point to now. But, well, that time's getting reset here. Rhett sits down with Jaedong, one of the most fearsome ZVZ players on the planet, and takes kind of a cakewalk. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, that attack from Jaedong was very, I mean, interesting in thought, but in execution, it got absolutely destroyed. And then Rhett put himself in a position where I'm pretty sure my grandmother could win from. I think it's just 1 A move click, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, Rhett, the games that we tend to see him lose are players who either have extremely specifically prepared timing attacks or players who are just fundamentally playing a little bit more sound. But the places we don't see Rhett lose is when his opponent's doing a style that's a little bit unstable. Rhett does not drop at all in spots like those. He does not miss a beat. He overwhelms, and I was just impressive to see him be against an unusual style and just crush it with his usual standards play.
Yeah, I think if you take Jaedong's style and you want to try to improve upon, I would have liked maybe perhaps like a fast hive and very counterattacky style. So, I mean, I think that's what he was trying to do with the counterattack stuff. It just got found by that Fungal. But Ultros in that situation could have been pretty cool, plowing through the Infestors and then perhaps getting at those Roaches and Hydras.
I was going to expect that after I saw that early +1, but I mean, I have no way to decipher what Jaedong's goals or long-term plans were. Rhett's going to punish that, and that really goes to show why, the Roach Hydra Infestor is the standard, is the gold standard in this, sort of modern era.
Absolutely. So that's going to be it for game number 1. Rhett takes the win over Jaedong. A bit of an upset, but again, Rhett is a tournament champion caliber Zerg, so it's hard to call it too much of an upset. I think it's more just the matchup itself. But that puts us in a situation where we go to game number 2. If we could pull that up, who's that going to be? Zenio? Right, Zenio versus...
it's going to be Zenio versus Revival, 2 players who are also known for having pretty sickening Zerg vs. Zerg. It's going to be on Star Station, the map where Lings are kings, so definitely going to be a sort of high-octane ZVZ.
Let's hope so. Zenyo is the ZVZ specialist, and as you said, both these guys are known for their ZVZ. Revival's no slouch at all. So, should be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching EG versus TL on the SC2L. In control and Day 9 bringing you the broadcast. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be right back after this commercial break.